fed up to the back teeth with it all.
All what?
All this constant fear that some cutthroat will jump me out of nowhere.
I know what you mean. God is testing us. But their lordships are doing something about it, aren't they? They wiped out a whole encampment of those marauders in Privislav.
I've got a few questions about these poachers.
So ask.
Another lot attacked Mer.
What do you make of this poaching that's been going on?
It's clear as day. Hannikin Hare's back. And putting those antlers on Nicholas's house? Well, we all know what that means, don't we? It's the sign of a cuckold, you mark my
The very
words.
moment the soldiers were dealing with that lot in Privislavets, another bunch was attacking Mer.
You mean to say his wife's cheating on him?
All I'm saying is she might be feeling the urge. It happens in the best of families.
Well, quite a few have gone to St. Peter.
Well, you're the first who's certain of Hare's return. So far, I've just heard vague rumours.
Well, now, I wouldn't say I'm completely sure. I suppose some other mischief maker could have done it, but better the devil you know. And everyone hereabouts knows Hare.
Save Henry.
You were singing a different song not long ago.
So? Why do you want to know so much, anyway?
It's nothing to you, but I'm helping Nicholas unmask that local poaching gang.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, now you know. And you also know not to keep anything from me. So, what's the story with that Hare?
All right, I'll tell you what I know. But promise not to tell Nicholas I said it.
I'll do what I can, but I need to let him know what I discover. So, out with it.
It's to do with Margaret, his wife. They say it's all because of her.
Keep going.
I know full well Hare's here, because Margaret admitted as much.
What did she tell you?
That he waited in the woods till she came by and they exchanged some words. Words was all she told me. Who knows what they actually got up to?
And what did they speak about?
I don't know. But if Nicholas knew they'd met, he'd most likely kill her.
You're sure she wasn't saying it in jest?
Oh no. Margaret wouldn't joke about something like that.
Well, you're the first who's certain of Hare's return. So far, I've just heard vague rumours.
Well now, I wouldn't say I'm completely sure. I suppose some other mischief maker could have done it, but better the devil you know. And everyone hereabouts knows Hare.
Stop trying to wriggle out of it. Do you realise who I am?
Not really.
But you know who Radzig Cobbler is, right?
Of course.
I'm his right-hand man, and I'm helping the huntsman catch the poachers. So, I'm not someone you should be messing around.
All right, I'll tell you what I know. But promise not to tell Nicholas I said it.
I'll do what I can, but I need to let him know what I discover. So, out with it.
It's to do with Margaret, his wife. They say it's all because of her.
Keep going.
I know full well Hare's here, because Margaret admitted as much.
What did she tell you?
That he waited in the woods till she came by and they exchanged some words. Words was all she told me. Who knows what they actually got up to?
And what did they speak about?
I don't know. But if Nicholas knew they'd met, he'd most likely kill her.
You're sure she wasn't saying it in jest?
Oh no. Margaret wouldn't joke about something like that.
Who's this Hannikin Hare, anyway?
Hannikin Hare? There was a time he was master huntsman here, and Margaret was set to be his wife. But then he got himself accused of murder, and fled before they could hang him. Margaret and his job both ended up going to Nicholas.
So what's the story between Hare and Margaret?
It was complicated. He wanted her, and she wanted him too, I reckon. At least for a while. But then she hitched up with Nicholas, and now she says she never had a thought of wedding Hannikin Hare.
So what went on between Hare and the huntsman?
Those two? There was no love lost between them from the moment Hare arrived. And then Margaret got involved. It was a messy business.
Do you think Hare really killed that man?
Who knows the truth of it now? I did find it all a bit odd. Hare never was much of a hothead. But then again, no one really knew him that well. And Margaret never wanted to speak of it, wouldn't hear a word about it.
That's all I need. Thanks.
Take care.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
Henry's come to see us.
If you ask me, there's some questions best left unanswered. But go and see Eleanor if you're determined. That old gossip will tell you all there is to know. God be with you. Looking for someone? Good health to you. What's that?
God be with you.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
I don't know anything about that, but if it's gossip you're after, go and speak to Brada, the tanner. He always spins a good yarn. You'll find him at the end of the village. It's the last house on the way to the quarry. See you later.
What was that?
I heard there are poachers in the woods round here.
If only if it was just poachers. It's that sorcerer Hare. He's the one who's been running amok. I said he'd be back, and I said he'd be vengeful, and I was right both times.
Tell me something about Hanneken Hare.
Ah, that was all years ago. He turned up here one day. No one rightly knew where from. He claimed up at the castle to be a nobleman's son, and so he got the office of Master Huntsman, and Margaret was promised him for his wife. Nobody could have known he was a sorcerer.
And how did his sorcery reveal itself?
Well, he was able to vanish into thin air in the forest right in front of folk. And I've heard it said he spoke to animals, too, though I don't know the truth of it.
That doesn't sound very convincing to me.
That's because you've not seen his marksmanship. It wasn't natural, the things he could do with that bow of his. They say he sold his soul for the gift of it.
I see. How did it go with Margaret?
I'm not one to gossip, but she was a flighty lass in her younger years. She could never make up her mind which one she wanted, the Hare or Nicholas. So in the end, fate decided for her.
What do you mean? What happened with Hare?
Oh, that was quite something. And then some on top of it. Sir Henry of Lipo was visiting here at the castle, and Hare snapped his guardsman's neck with his bare hands. Of course, they found him out. But how do you keep a sorcerer under lock and key? You can't. That's your answer. And that Satan's spawn slipped the net.
Oh well, it's quite a wild story. Any idea why he murdered the man?
No one knows, and most likely never will. But they say he was fully in the devil's power. There was a full moon, you see.
Was he actually seen killing the guardsman?
I suppose so. Else they'd hardly know who did it, would they?
That's probably true.
How are you, Henry?
There is one other thing I want to ask. Tell me something about Hare.
Ah, that was all years ago. He turned up here one day, no one rightly knew where from. He claimed up at the castle to be a nobleman's son, and so he got the office of Master Huntsman, and Margaret was promised him for his wife. Nobody could have known he was a sorcerer.
Well, I should be going. Thanks for the chat.
Not at all. I always like a good chin wag.
Goodbye.
I want to ask one more thing about those poachers.
So ask.
Has anyone actually seen this Hare? He seems to exist only as a bogeyman to frighten naughty children.
Oh, he exists all right. But he flits around in the forest like a shadow. They won't be catching him anytime soon. But Blacksmith's Betty heard some of their goings-on in the woods.
Goings-on? What's that supposed to mean?
Cavorting and raising hell. Sorcery! Hare meets up with his sorcerer's apprentices, and they feast in the clearing in the woods. In the morning, they turn into ravens and scatter. Or so she says. But you'll have to ask Betty for more. Who knows what she saw? Or what she was doing there with them.
Very well. I'll ask. Who does Hare want revenge on?
Master Huntsman Nicholas, of course. When the Hare disappeared, Nicholas took his Margaret and the huntsman's posting.
So Nicholas came out of it well?
That one always knew how to land on his feet.
Thanks. I think I know all I need.
Good luck, then.
God save Henry.
What do you think you're doing? You've no business.
I've got a few questions about these poachers.
So ask.
I heard you saw something fishy in the forest.
That's right, I did.
Can you describe what you saw?
It was after dark, I remember that. I went up past the castle along by the clearing, and I saw someone had lit a fire, and there were figures singing and dancing, and I could hear the whistling of a pipe. And I could smell roast meat. It was like a feast of some sort. Only I thought maybe it was some witch's Sabbath, so I was afraid to stay too long in case they saw me.
Did you recognize anyone there? Someone from the village, maybe?
No. Like I said, it was dark. All I could see was shadowy figures moving around.
Did you hear any familiar voices?
No. But I heard girls' laughter, goblets clinking, a piper playing. It sounded just like any feast.
Where is the clearing?
A short walk north of the castle. There's a track past the woodcutter's camp that takes you there.
Thanks. What do you make of this poaching that's been going on?
It's clear as day. Hannikin Hare's back. And putting those antlers on Nicholas's house? Well, we all know what that means, don't we? It's the sign of a cuckold, you mark my words.
That's all I need. Thanks.
God be with you.
Good day, Henry. She only started not long ago. Always in the evening, while there's still a bit of light, she sits down.
Damn! I'm glad to see you.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
What about them?
Well, I wondered if you've got any idea who might be doing it.
Tom of the Baths was mouthing off in the tavern. That's all I know. Goodbye.
God save you, Henry.
God save you.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
What about them?
Well, I wondered if you've got any idea who might be doing it.
Tom of the Bards was mouthing off in the tavern. That's all I know. Goodbye.
God be with you, Henry.
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
If I were you, I'd ask Thomas, the bath hand. He was boasting in the tavern about how he was off to the woods for some game. God be with you.
Henry, I'm glad you... God grant you health. How may I help you?
I heard you have poacher trouble.
Certainly do. They're running wild around here. And they kill a lot more than they take. Many a time I've seen a carcass just thrown in a ditch.
Why would someone just toss their catch in the woods? It doesn't make sense.
Well, the wagging tongues say they're just doing it to spite the huntsman.
Do you have any idea who the poachers could be?
If I knew, the bastards would be strung up by now.
Don't tell me you've heard nothing at all.
Well, I did hear that Thomas, that fellow who works at the bathhouse, was mouthing off recently, saying he'd go and bag himself some game and lay on a right feast for the village girls.
I see. Has anyone seen those poachers with their own eyes?
No, just the dead game they leave behind. But Blacksmith's Betty saw some goings-on in the woods.
Goings-on? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, that's what she said, and I ain't one to pry.
Why would anyone want to take revenge on the huntsman?
He's not the best-liked man in the village. We all know that. And then there are those who say Hare is back.
Who's Hare?
You're not from around here, are you? The Hare's quite the Talmberg legend. He used to be Master Huntsman here once, but then he ran off.
Why did he run?
Well, it just so happens I know the answer to that. Some big important nobleman came to Talmberg around then, and they made a grand occasion of it. And in the midst of it all, Hare had a falling out with some man-at-arms and knocked him in the moat. The poor bugger broke his neck. They picked the Hare up, but before they could take him before the court, he vanished.
Why take revenge on Master Huntsman Nicholas?
Because of Nicholas's wife, Margaret. Hare had his eye on her back then, but she didn't care for him and he was fuming. Well, and after he disappeared, Nicholas got his post.
Where did he run to?
No one really knows. They say he's hiding in secret tunnels beneath the castle, but that's all fairy tales. It's been years. As I see it, he's underground all right. 6 feet down and cold.
I want to ask about something else. Thanks. That's all I need to know.
God be with you.
God grant you health. How may I help you?
I'd like to find out about the poachers round here who've been stealing game recently.
Don't ask me. Talk to Blacksmith's Betty. She's the one who claims she saw them feasting in the woods.
I see. Thanks. I'll go and ask.
God be with you.
save, Henry.
matter? Come on!
What the hell do you think you're doing hurting people like that? We won't put up with violent brutes here. Is that clear? Well, you won't forget this in a hurry, because it'll take a nice pile of coin to fix it.
Look, I'll tell you the truth, but you mustn't...
You think I'm so stupid as to fall for such a fairy?
Damn it. Here's your coin, then.
You've purged yourself before the law. But I'll be keeping an eye on you. You can be sure of that.
Yeah,